There is nothing that transforms culture, inspires movements, or bridges one person to another like the power of story. My facts and arguments just make you feel defensive. We end up more polarized than ever. But I'm a different person after having heard your story. I may not agree with it, but I can't deny it. And when we share each other's stories, they give us common points of connection that put us on the same side of the table. And yet, even the most accomplished storytellers among us often skip over or ignore altogether the most important key to effective storytelling. We're going to explore that in The Power of Story to Transform Your Life. I've spent over 35 years in the film and television and book publishing industries, over 20 of those years at DreamWorks Studios. I've worked with some of the biggest names in the business. And we will work hard to perfect the stories we're building. We'll send them out to editors, we'll sit them in the writer's room, and when we finally have it all perfect, we launch it out into the market, just hoping and praying that somebody will like it. But that spray and pray approach actually misses the most important question of all. What's going on in the heart of the listener? When we connect powerful storytelling with the felt needs of the audience we're speaking to, we unleash the transformational power of story. In the 1850s, the great British author Charles Dickens was at the height of his power. And yet Dickens realized that books were limiting for him because the masses couldn't afford it. And so he started to release his stories as monthly magazine subscriptions, a few chapters a month that only cost 2 pence each. And at the height of Dickens' popularity, he had over 150,000 subscribers. That's a big number today. And every month when his magazine came out, he would hide in the stalls of the booksellers, listening to the chatter going on in line. What characters did people like? What plot points were frustrating to them? What were they missing? And he took notes. When you read those big works by Charles Dickens, Bleak House, Great Expectations, often we'll find that halfway through the story, a character just starts to fade out. Or a brand new character will be introduced that brings a whole new shot of action. Because Dickens wasn't content with being a master storyteller. He wanted to make sure he connected with the heart of his audience. When we discover and experience the stories that come into our lives, there are 4 channels that we use to discover and bring them in. Understanding how those channels work gives us a geography of the power of story. Learning that helps us navigate a roadmap to land right in the heart of our listeners. And it starts with what we see. The visual experience of all the storytelling that comes into my experience all day long. The billboard I see on the side of the road, the ad at the bus stop, the ad that pops up in my smartphone feed. And the visual experience of all these stories gives my mind something to create a roadmap out of. And I start to be intrigued. Things catch my eye. The second channel of story adoption is what we hear. The dialogue that the characters are saying, the tone and manner with which they're expressing themselves, the soundtrack underneath the bed of all this action that brings all of those stories to life. And the combination of what we see and what we hear starts to stir feelings inside of me. The third channel of story adoption is the kinesthetic experience of what we feel. Something is goofy or silly, or scary, or sad, or drumming up all sorts of anxiety inside of me because I'm sitting on the edge of my seat. And we love that. We love the combination of what we see, hear, and feel in the stories that we like. But something magical happens when those feelings that are being stirred up with effective storytelling land close to a felt need I'm already carrying. When the feelings of the stories we're experiencing land close to a felt need we already have inside, no longer is this just a story I like. It's becoming a story like me. When I work with creatives who ask advice on how can we reach a big audience, I'll ask, who is your story for? And often I'll hear answers like, well, anybody who wants to laugh. Or we're telling something for anyone who has experienced something. If you're using words like anyone who's done this or everyone who's experienced that, we're already in trouble. Because we don't actually know who our story's for. And if you're not for somebody, we won't be for anybody. So let's say you want to tell a story or have a messaging campaign to reach young parents today. Turns out we can know a lot about what's going on in the lives of young parents. What is going on in all of the moments of the lives of a young parent throughout their day? And with some simple internet research, we can discover that the number one question young parents are thinking about today is my child safe? When they go to school, when they're out of the playground, when they're at a friend's house, even when they're in their own bedroom in my house, is my child safe? And being aware of the felt needs of our audience helps us be much more savvy about the storytelling we're trying to tell and land in the heart of the felt needs of our listeners. If we ignore that, we end up looking tone deaf and out of touch. But when we land it, we give our audience something that they can't help but share with somebody else. And that's the fourth channel of story adoption. After what I see, hear, and feel connects with one of my felt needs, I can't help but want to go share it with somebody else. I find points of connection, and movements are started. Millions of dollars a year are spent by marketers after the most elusive and most powerful marketing tool of all, word of mouth. It turns out that unlocking word of mouth happens when the stories we're telling connect organically with the felt needs of the audience we're reaching. They're going to go tell their friends. I just saw this movie. It moved me so much, you have to see it with me. When that happens, we launch virtuous flywheels that generate movements and build connection between people. As we enter the age of AI, we're going to need these points of connection more than ever. We're all hungry for connection. We're searching the internet for things all the time. Did you know that from last year to this year, internet searches are up 20% year over year? But website traffic is down. How is it that internet searches are up and website traffic is down? Because today, what sits on my search engine is the AI aggregator. So now when I'm asking a question, instead of finding places where I can go to the source material and even meet the people behind it, I now sit innocently enough while the search engine tells me, oh, this is what we found in a diluted page of results. And I guess I'm okay with that. And I end up more isolated than ever. As we enter this post-information age of AI-driven search, we are going to see the need for connection spike through the roof. But there's hope. There is hope when we turn toward each other and share our stories as points of connection that help meet our felt needs. And as we do that, we'll see the opportunities to unlock that power of story. And I have a suggestion. And my suggestion is that it is time to rediscover the good old-fashioned book. The most proven platform of storytelling unlocks all four channels of the geography of our stories. What I see, hear, feel, and share with somebody else can be found in the pages of a good book. Now, I collect first edition books. I'm a big fan of the first editions that an author intended because it shows us the experience that they wanted us to have with the stories they're telling. It lets us spend time with the author. Living or dead, authors remain immortal in the pages of their stories. And as I discover and share these with my friends, it helps us build points of connection. I brought a few examples out of my personal collection. This first one here is Mark Twain's The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. This is a very rare copy of the first edition that came out in 1884. A beloved story from my childhood, Rudyard Kipling's Just So stories that inspired big giant properties like Disney's The Jungle Book. And this is the first edition of that book that came out in 1902. And A.A. Milne's Winnie the Pooh from 1926. All three of these books are over 100 years old. All three of them are in the public domain. But all three of them have been such powers behind the culture we live in that I don't need to explain anything else. You already know what I'm talking about when we mention these titles. But there's something else. All three of these books have been, or currently are, banned somewhere in the world. Why is it that people in power want to ban stories? Because they know inherently that the most powerful machine behind changing culture is when the powerful stories we share connect with the felt needs of where we want to go. Every single one of us has the potential to be good storytellers. And when we connect the stories we want to tell with the felt needs of the audience we want to reach, we are expanding the power of story to transform our lives. Thank you.